LGKG. Good to see you, Larry.
Am I really one of your favorites, Scott?
Yes. Because you and I will talk a little law, then somehow we'll end up talking a little bit of sports, and it's a fun chat. I learned things.
I think the listeners would rather hear sports than law, right? We should make this a sports show. Of course, after the Steelers lose the Sunday before, the natives are very restless, to say the least, right?
T.J. Watt was in the hospital. What's going on there? We're trying to figure that out.
I'm concerned about that.
Yeah,
you know,
me too.
only because, you know, at LGKG we do a lot of medical negligence work, medical malpractice work. And when they're talking about lung issues, you know, oftentimes I think about blood clots. So let's hope that's not it, because that's a real health issue. That's a danger to your health, but you know, and that puts you on the shelf for a while. So let's hope that's not it. You know, he's a young man in excellent shape. So hopefully that isn't it. And you know, even if he doesn't play this week, he'll be up and ready to go sooner rather than later.
LGKG with multiple offices, including one in Beaver Falls, Newcastle, and more. Look, it's time of year we kind of look back on the previous 12 months. What kind of year was it for LGKG?
You know, we measure that by not how much money we've made, and it's kind of not what it's all about. You know, how many people have we helped? How many families have we served where we made a difference in their life? You know, you can't do it all the time, Scott. Doesn't happen. But, you know, there are times that because of what you do could make a difference in a family's life. You know, most recently just represent a mother who lost her only child. Her only child was somebody who still lived with her as an adult and provided her, you know, resources that allowed her to stay in her home. The mother's in her 70s. You know, as our listeners know, it costs a lot of money to keep a home up, right? When the roof goes bad, to fix it, the utilities, the cost of food is outrageous as we move forward here. Unfortunately, he passed away as a result of a medical error, but at LGKG, we were able to represent the mother and provide her with a recovery so that, you know, she already works one job as a domestic in her 70s. She doesn't have to go out and get another one. You know what I mean? You know, she can live now comfortably in her home without her son's input and income that he provided. And it made a difference in her life, you know. She was worried after her son passed she'd have to leave her home that she's lived in for 40 years. And those are the types of cases that we take pride in, that the recovery was able to allow the mother to stay in her home, to be comfortable from month to month in paying her bills and doing all the things she needs to do. And she doesn't have to go out and get yet another job. You know, when you're cleaning houses and you're in your 70s, that's pretty tough work, Scott. Now, you know, instead of cleaning 10 a week, you got to go out and find 20. That might be a little too tough. So, you know, at LGKG, when we can do things like that, when we can make a difference in a family's life, to make life a little easier for them, we take great pride in that. And when we're able to do that, we believe we had a great year.
You guys specialize in personal injury. This time of year, are there instances you see more of this kind of thing? When we were talking about weather conditions for one, ice.
There were 3 wrecks today on my way in, listening to one of the Pittsburgh radio stations. So
the Penguin game was delayed a half hour because of a bad wreck last night on 279.
Noah was just talking about it, you know, at the intersection of 279 and the Veterans Bridge. Yeah, I mean, it's that time of year when, you know, the roads get a little tricky. We have a terrible case that we're representing, a family where mother and father, again, in their 70s, driving home. Guy crosses the center line, hits him head on, they both die. These are terrible cases. They're sad, they're gut-wrenching, you know, to get that phone call. You know, at LGKG, we try to make a difference. We're representing another family. This will be the first Christmas without their mother.
Ooh.
Husband and three children, 14, 13, and 7. Mother stopped in a line of traffic on the Pennsylvania Turnpike, gets hit from behind by a tractor trailer.
Oh.
Stopped in a line of traffic. She dies. That family's devastated. And again, father now has to take care of 3 adolescent children, girls, no less. You know, I have 4. I'm a girl dad, so I know how much that involves. And it's just, you know, now his burden doubles because he doesn't have his wife there to help him.
In a case like that, and I've almost been rear-ended at waiting in traffic, and are you looking at, is it the signage warning about people that there's going to be a delay? Is it the driver who plows into them from behind? Like what do you look at?
Oftentimes it might be signage, but this isn't a signage case. The signage was up and abundant. It's a driver that's not paying attention. You know, hits this poor woman at, I think the dash camera information we were able to get, you know, at 58 miles an hour.
Wow.
In a tractor trailer. Tragic.
It's like a missile.
It's like a missile, absolutely. So, you know, those are tragic cases. But at LGKG, you know, that we handle those for families who have been devastated, and you know, I even hate to talk about it.
Have you had a case yet? And I see this more and more with delivery trucks. Everyone's getting things delivered to their house, Amazon, UPS, FedEx, and a lot of times the truck will pull right off the side of the road. I almost got hit 2 days ago. A lady crossed the line on a hill. It was a blind spot, and she was in my lane because she was trying to avoid the a FedEx truck or whatever.
Not only is she at fault for crossing the center line, but the FedEx truck is at fault for illegally parking. That happened to me the other day. Mm-hmm. He's pulled over on the side of the road. There's a grade there, so you're not really sure what's coming the other way. Man, I mean, the driver was nowhere to be found. I did drive around it, but man, was I careful.
Right.
I was really careful in doing so. Yeah, there's Amazon trucks and FedEx trucks, and they just pull over. You almost can't blame them. These trucks are so big, oftentimes there's no driveway.
Right.
But you got to do something. You can't block half the road. You're illegally parked. Many times, as you said, there's probably no parking on a 2-lane highway. Mm-hmm. You're on the berm, and your truck's halfway into the lane that you're traveling in. Yeah, that's a problem. That's a problem. They're at fault for that. But if you cross the center line and hit somebody coming in the other direction, you might have to share some of that fault. So you got to be very careful in those situations, very careful. I just faced the same thing the other day. Oh. Same thing you described.
It's a weekly thing here, yeah.
Yeah, it's the same thing that you described. So, again, at LGKG, we've been doing this. I don't like having gray hair, Scott, but I've been doing this. Actually, I'm going into my 42nd year of being a lawyer. I've seen these movies hundreds of times, if not thousands. I've tried over 100 cases. I've seen the movie before. I know how they end. I do, and somebody once said there's no substitute for experience. There's no substitute for experience. That's why the rookie quarterback for Pittsburgh has never seen a snap yet. The kid from Ohio State, no experience, and that's why Aaron Rodgers at 42 years old. I've been practicing law as long as he has been alive. That's why he's still the quarterback, even at his advanced age. There's no substitute for experience, whether you're an NFL quarterback or you're a personal injury lawyer at LGKG. And
you mentioned, we talked about this before, you have to stay up on the law. This is something that's constantly changing. A lot of homework to be done when you're not
every day. Yeah. I'm part of a listserv that it's a service provided by the Pennsylvania Association for Justice, formerly Pennsylvania Trial Lawyers, of which I was the president last year, that has 2,000 members. And there's a listserv of probably 1,000 attorneys that post every day things that are happening in the law, changes that are happening in the law, new cases that come out. I spend an hour a day reading through probably 100 emails every day just so you can stay abreast of what's happening. It is imperative that you do that. In in the world I live in, the personal injury world, you're either moving forward or you're moving backwards. You can't stay the same. So at LGKG, we pride ourselves on moving forward. Because I like to keep the car in drive, not reverse. Yeah.
Let's talk about how you work with clients and prospective clients. And so someone's listening out now, and they're out there thinking, I may have a case. Kind of walk us through the process. Who do they reach? They call you?
All you got to do is make a phone call, or you can reach us on our website, and we'll get back to you immediately. And there's no fee that you pay unless, number one, we take your case, and number two, we obtain a recovery on your behalf. So if you think you have a case, call us at LGKG. We'll talk to you. We like to meet with people in person, Scott. A lot of these big box firms, they do everything on the phone. They do everything on Zoom, remotely. I like to sit across the table from people, and I think they like that too. It might be a little inconvenient for them, but I like to sit across the table from a potential client so that I can feel, not just hear, but feel what they're telling me. We'll talk about your case. If I think that we can help you, then we work on contingent fees. And our fee isn't 40% like these people advertise. We don't get paid unless we recover. If we take your case, and oftentimes we expend thousands of dollars, and if we are not successful, you don't owe us anything, nothing. You don't have to reimburse us the cost that we've advanced, nor do you pay us any fees. At LGKG, it's simple. No recovery, no fee. You don't pay. If we are able to recover, most fees are a third of what we recover, then we're entitled to be paid our fee and reimbursed our cost that we advanced for you. But that's only if we're successful. So we take all the financial risk. We are big boys. We don't expect you, and most people in Beaver County, Lawrence County, Allegheny County, where we practice, they don't have the wherewithal to fund their case to the tune of $5,000, $10,000, $15,000, $20,000, and we don't expect them to do that. No risk. When you come and talk to us, there is no risk. If we can help you, then we will. But if we can't, you walk out of the office, we shake hands, and you don't owe us anything.
The point you made, I can illustrate that yesterday. It wasn't with an attorney. It was with my someone from my bank. They wanted to have a sit down and talk, and I learned so much more. And it was so much easier where he was literally across the desk, like turning his computer over, showing me, making a point. We had a conversation that lasted probably an hour after that, and now I feel like, he's on my side more. We could have done it on the phone. We could have done it by email, but I got so much more out of it by being in the room, making eye contact.
The big box firms in Pittsburgh, the ones that handle 10,000 cases, they don't have time to meet with you, Scott.
Right.
So they do it over the phone. They do it remotely. That's not who we are at LGKG. We don't handle 10,000 cases. We handpick our cases. And why? If we take your case, we want to make sure we give it the attention that it deserves. We turn away cases. We did. We turned away a couple last week. Respectfully, we just can't help you. We can't help you. If we take your case, there's a reason. We handpick them. We don't handle 10,000 of them. We give your case the attention it deserves. We meet with you in person. We don't do it remotely. That's not who we are at LGKG. And that's who, as long as Larry Kelly's around, we ain't never going to do that. You understand? Now, I'm a touchy-feely people person type of guy.
I like that about you. Now, are you able to always make a determination right there on the spot? Are there times where someone presents to you in a meeting and you have to do a little research, a little digging? In
most cases, we're able to make that determination. However, in a medical malpractice case, we're not really able to make the determination until we're able to gather all of the medical records and look at those medical records and see what was done, what wasn't done, what should have been done, what they maybe missed. We maybe need to get radiology reports and films and send them to the experts that work for us to see if anything was missed in radiology. So a lot of times in a med-mal case, it does take a little bit longer to make that determination if you have a viable claim. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what the lawyers at LGKG say in a medical malpractice case. We need a doctor in the same specialty to sign what's called a certificate of merit, and he says there is negligence in this case, this is medical malpractice, and as a result of that, you were harmed. Only after we get that can we move forward. So yeah, it's a different ball game in medical malpractice. It's a little bit of a different ball game. And at LGKG, we've been doing it for 40 years, you know. Again, I got a pretty good feel when you walk in the door because Larry Kelly's seen the movie before. I got a pretty good feel. But until an expert validates my feelings and my opinion, we can't move forward.
I'd imagine you have like expert contacts and sources too. If you want to ask a medical question, you probably got someone.
We have people that we pay in New York. These are big time. Most of them are NYU guys, that teach and work at NYU. That we can call. That they're on retainer with us, and we call them and we get some really, really good insight. But again, if you're going to do medical malpractice cases, you need that network. You need that network. And at LGKG, we have that network. And again, if we take your case, we may spend $5,000 just having it reviewed, getting records, and we may come back to you and say, Scott, we had it reviewed by some of the best doctors in the United States, and they said that this is an unfortunate incident, but there's no negligence here. There's no malpractice. And oftentimes, clients are satisfied with that because now they know what happened. You know, a lot of times, there's an untoward event. A loved one dies. They don't know why. They don't know what happened. How did this happen? At LGKG, we can give you that answer. Even though you may not have a case, you will know what happened at the end of our investigation into your case.
Now, there's so much paperwork and red tape regulations. Is that sometimes a cause of malpractice? Something's misfiled. Someone's getting the wrong prescription, or they're not.
Oh, yeah. Unfortunately. I always say, if you have a loved one in the hospital, you better be there with them. You better be there with them. Could they get the wrong medication? Yes. Could the doctor's order be misinterpreted? Yes. There are so many things that can go wrong in a hospital. You better be there with them. You better be there, kind of making sure that, you know, what needs to be done has been done. There are so many horror stories because oftentimes my wife's a nurse, overworked.
Oh,
you know, you've already worked 12 hours. Can you go another shift? Or maybe you've worked 8. Can you go another shift? You're physically exhausted, and when you're physically exhausted, you're more apt to make a mistake. Residents who work 24 hours in a row, not a good idea.
Yeah.
Things get missed, you know, and there are events that occur that shouldn't occur. So my advice is, you got a loved one in the hospital, you better be there with them. You just better.
I notice more and more when I go to the pharmacy to get my prescription, they ask, do you have any questions? They make it a point of asking. And
yeah, they always do that. Yeah.
If you try to read the paperwork inside, it's
Forget
like,
about it.
You can't. You need a magnifying glass and then it's written in a way.
If you read all of the contraindications and side effects, you probably wouldn't take this stuff. You know, but
like those TV commercials, at the end there's a disclaimer.
Oh,
you know.
My God, yeah.
No, who's right? Is there a lawyer helping to write that?
Absolutely. You have to share the risks with the patients. You have to share the side effects so that they can make an informed consent. But here's what's happening in the world that we live in. You go into a hospital, they stick all this paperwork in front of you, sign here. Nobody explains it to you. If you sat there and read it, it would take you 2 hours to get through it. Yes. You know what I tell my clients? When they say sign here, draw a line. Don't sign your name. Just draw a line. That way, if there's something in there that you really didn't agree to, at the end of the day, you say, it's not my signature. Why'd you draw a line? I had no idea what I was asked to sign, and nobody explained it to me. That's what I do. Draw a line.
I like that.
Don't write your name. Draw a line. Now, if they sit there and spend a half hour and explain it to you, yeah, you can sign your name then. We tell all our clients that. Because one of the things they're telling you in there's a venue clause, right? That if you are being treated by UPMC, let's say in, Newcastle, that you can't bring your case in Allegheny County, even though you might live in Pittsburgh. Maybe you live there. Because you agreed in this venue clause in those 20 sheets of paper that they gave you that you're going to try the case in the county where the treatment was rendered. You should have a choice. In Pennsylvania, if you're the plaintiff, you should have a choice. You live in Pittsburgh, you should be able to try your case in Pittsburgh, and vice versa. if you live in Newcastle and being treated in Pittsburgh, you should be able to try your case in Lawrence County or Beaver County. But they make you sign, so draw a line, straight line. That's all. Nobody looks at it. Nobody looks at your signature and says, oh, is that your signature? No. You boom, 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 boom. They don't look at it. Nobody explains it to you. They put it in a file.
Great advice from Larry Kelly, LGKG. I have to get a commercial break in. We'll be back more. Talk. Larry Kelly. 'Tis the sweetest time of the year, and Stangles Bakery in Ambridge has got an amazing supply of holiday treats waiting for you. Cookie trays, cookies by the dozen, fruitcakes, Buckeyes, and Stangles' famous Lady Locks all await. So order as early as possible for the best selection because these goodies are in demand. Visit Stangles Bakery at 572 Merchant Street in Ambridge. Stangles, the hometown family-run bakery satisfying sweet tooths since 1920. Check them out at stanglesbakery.com.
Bully Bullies is located in New Brighton, and we are celebrating our 20-year anniversary. We take pride in homemade food and live music. We also offer a variety of catering, from office luncheons to weddings. We also offer a private room for events for seating up to 30 people. For more information and menus, visit woollyBullies.com or visit us on Facebook or Instagram. Stop by and check us out.
Luann's Route 68 Food and Spirits and Industry is the place for wing specials on Thursdays, fish, homemade crab cakes, and crab stuffed mushrooms on Fridays, as well as karaoke night. Luann's Route 68 Food and Spirits is known for their famous steak salads and has happy hour from 4 to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday. Find Luann's Route 68 Food and Spirits on Facebook for daily specials and live music. Luann's Route 68 Food and Spirits and Industry is veteran-owned and looks forward to serving you today.
Wishing you happy holidays from Ivory Elephant. This year, grab a unique handmade gift for the one you love. Personalized canvases, jewelry, holiday decor, and more. Located at 631 3rd Street in Beaver, Ivory Elephant can't wait to make your holiday unique and magical.
Step through the gates of Beaver County's sweetest castle, where chocolate is handcrafted and enchantment fills the air. For more than a century, the family at Roseland Candy Castle has been creating confections fit for royalty. Rich, buttery caramels, velvety creams that melt like magic, and our legendary chocolate-covered pretzels, beloved across the land, whether you seek a treasure for yourself or a gift to share the joy. Every bite tells a tale of sweetness and tradition. Visit Roseland Candy Castle in New Brighton or order online at roselandcandy.com. Because at Roseland Candy Castle, every taste is a royal delight and every visit feels like a fairy tale.
Lincoln Park Performing Arts Center in Midland presents Tchaikovsky's The Nutcracker. Celebrate the season with this holiday tradition December 12th through the 21st. Sponsored by Clearview Federal Credit Union. Get your tickets now at lincolnparkarts.org.
Hungry? Then get to Hangry Mike's. Yes, Hangry Mike's, the Rochester restaurant where every meal is crafted from scratch, sourced from local partners, and made with pride. The new menu treats meat lovers to a slow-cooked and smoked lineup with brisket, pulled pork, smoked turkey, whole chickens, pork ribs, and sausage. There's also the cowabunga, a flank steak with creamy mac and cheese, peppercorn bacon, and barbecue moonshine piled on a Mancini roll. Located at 200 Brighton Avenue, adjacent to Rochester Hotel, Hangry Mike's is decked out for the Christmas season. Join Beaver County Radio at Hangry Mike's December 13 for photo ops with Santa and horses from the Hidden Hill Horse Farm. Yes, hope to see you tomorrow at Hangry Mike's. I'll be there. Staffers from Beaver County Radio will have the prize wheel, your chance to win some Pennsylvania lottery scratch-offs and more. Hangry Mike's located on the ground floor of the historic Rochester Hotel. Noah Haswell is back in studio, and he's got news headlines.
All right, thank you, Scott. Our top headlines for news at the top of the hour include new funding of nearly $792,000, strengthening resources for Beaver County crime survivors that will help the county expand its crisis intervention capacity, being announced by State Representative Rob Matzey yesterday. A report from Beaver County Radio's Curtis Walsh about a recent water line break in New Brighton. A part of southbound I-279 was shut down in Allegheny County after a crash happened there yesterday, which involved a tractor trailer. And the man selected to be the next police chief of Pittsburgh had been the subject of a criminal investigation in Maryland. For our weather forecast today, we have mostly cloudy skies, then gradually becoming sunny with a high near 32. Tonight will be increasing clouds with a low of around 21. Tomorrow will be some snow showers, mainly after 1 p.m., otherwise a high near 32. And on Sunday, it will be some scattered snow showers, otherwise mostly cloudy skies with a high near 19. On this Friday, December the 12th of 2025 at 8:30 on the nose, we've got a temperature of 26 degrees currently in Beaver County. Those stories and more are coming up at 9 o'clock, and that's News Headlines. I'm Noah Haswell on 99.3 FM, AM 1230 WBVP, 95.7 FM, and 1460 AM WMBA. Also streaming live around the world at beavercountyradio.com.
Now we take a quick look at sports. The game heard here on Beaver County Radio last night, the Pittsburgh Penguins fell to Jacob Fowler and the Montreal Canadiens. Pens losing 4-2. Fowler, the goaltender for Montreal, making his NHL debut. Pens only able to put 2 shots past him as Montreal goes on to victory. A game that started a half hour late because of a massive traffic accident on Route 279. The Pens get back at it Saturday tomorrow, a matinee game hosting the San Jose Sharks. Coverage begins at 2:30 with the puck drop at 3 o'clock. Beaver County Radio brings you the Pittsburgh Penguins. Thanks to the sponsorship of St. Barnabas Health System, Falcone's Moon Township Ford, Beaver Supermarket, and Beaver County Radio. In NFL, Pittsburgh Steelers star outside linebacker TJ Watt was in the hospital after experiencing discomfort in his lungs. Coach Mike Tomlin said the 7-time All-Pro and 2021 NFL Defensive Player of the Year was sent to the hospital for evaluation on Wednesday after experiencing discomfort while receiving treatment. Watt was scheduled to undergo testing yesterday. In a quote, Tomlin said, "He and I communicated. He was comfortable, and that's all I really have at this point." So we'll keep an eye on that. Tomlin said he saw Watt in the cafeteria on Wednesday, which is when Tomlin said he became aware of what he described as Watt's lung situation. There was an NFL game last night led by Kirk Cousins. The Atlanta Falcons rallied for a 29-28 victory over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Atlanta trailed by 14 in the fourth quarter, but Cousins throwing 3 touchdown passes and Falcons getting a game-winning 43-yard field goal with time expiring, knocking Tampa to 7-7 and putting a dash on the Buccaneers' playoff hopes. And finally, a former Pittsburgh Pirate is now a Cleveland Guardian. Colin Holderman officially signed a 1-year deal with the Guardians. The 30-year-old right-hander was non-tendered by the Pirates last month. It's a 1-year contract worth $1.5 million. There you have it, a quick look at sports. So I'll mention high school basketball gets underway. We have our first game of the year tonight. Larry, I know you're a big basketball fan. Check out this matchup. Aliquippa at Beaver Falls. Think of the greats.
That was always a great Western Pennsylvania game, especially at the pit in Beaver Falls. Beaver Falls, in the last couple of years, unfortunately, their basketball program has struggled. But they got a lot of young guys, and I think it's turning around, and they got some good coaches over there. So, the Newcastle-Beaver Falls rivalry was always a great one, too. And I've coached basketball at Newcastle now for like 15 years. I'm an assistant coach there, and I can just remember some of the great games we had against the Tigers, man, because when those two schools play, Beaver Falls, the community shows out for them, and same at Newcastle. And I remember a few years ago, we played a game at Geneva College. It was a playoff game. And on one side of the court, it was all orange and black, and I mean right up to the rafters. And on the opposite side of the court, it was all red and black, all Newcastle. So those are some great games. I have some great memories of Beaver Falls, Newcastle.
We'll be airing that game at 7 p.m. tonight, Aliquippa at Beaver Falls. Is high school basketball like football, where it starts on the youth level and the training that these kids are getting when they're in middle school, that kind of thing? Or?
All sports have become like 10 months a year, Scott. It's when I was a kid and in high school, we used to play 3 sports. We'd go from one to the other. When football season was over, we went to hoops. After hoops, we went to baseball. Today, that's hard to do. You don't have as many kids doing that, even though I still think it's in your best interest. If you can play all 3, you should play all 3. But, the basketball season, at Newcastle, we're in the gym 10 months a year. The only 2 months we're not in the gym are April and August. Every other month we're in the gym, we're in summer leagues, we're in fall leagues, so it's a grind. It's a grind, and it's a skill game. So if you want to be good at it, we have kids that get up 500 shots a day.
Wow.
With a shooting machine. It's not like in the old days when you had to get your buddy or your father to come out and rebound for you. Today, these kids have access to the gym. There's a shooting machine in there.
Oh, man. Where was that when I was playing?
Yeah, really. When I was playing, we got our shots up at the playground. And if you missed it, the ball went in a creek. And then you had to go fish it out. So it's a little bit different today.
That probably improved your jump shot, though.
Well, I don't know if it improved it. When you're shooting outside and the wind's blowing 30 miles an hour, my jump shot was a little flat. You couldn't get a lot of arc on it. You know what I mean? It's not like today, Scott. These kids get to shoot inside, perfect. Like I said, it's easy. It's a little bit easier to get up 500 shots when the machine's kicking the ball right back to you. Know what I mean?
We're talking with Larry Kelly of the law firm LGKG. You've seen his billboards around town. Larry does a monthly show with us, gives us tips on legal stuff. We're talking about wins in this time of year. It's something we touched on last month when you were here, but now is another perfect time to reiterate the responsibility of homeowners or businesses when we get snow. There's a forecast for snow tomorrow. What do we got to do as far as sidewalks or?
If you owned a business, let's say yesterday, and all of a sudden it starts snowing about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and it continues to snow until 6 o'clock. As a business owner, under the law in Pennsylvania, it's not your duty to go out there and start shoveling snow while the snow's still falling. However, when the snow stops and all of a sudden, people are now tracking through the area that you are responsible for, and as a homeowner and as a business owner, you are responsible to maintain the sidewalk from your premises out to the curb. You have a primary responsibility. The city then has a secondary. If you don't do it, they know about it, they should come in and do it. But once it stops snowing and all of a sudden people are walking through the area that you are responsible for, now you do have a duty and an obligation to go out there and clean it up. And if you don't, you could be responsible. When people hit the deck, especially older people, when they slip and fall, bad things happen.
Break a hip?
Oh, I've seen it so many times, or break a wrist or break your arm or break your hip. It happens. It happens because, those falls tend to be violent. And with older people, who can't, a younger person, maybe if they slip, they still have the dexterity that they can maintain their balance and save themselves from a fall. But some older people certainly can't do that. So, yeah.
How about a homeowner, if I don't have a curb, but I have a driveway and a sidewalk leading up to the door, what's the responsibility there?
Again, it's your responsibility once it stops snowing to make sure that sidewalk is clear, especially if you own a business because you're there, you're a business owner, and the people coming to your business, they're business invitees. You want them to come into your business because you make money doing that. Homeowners a little more relaxed the duty. They're not coming there to spend money. They're coming there to visit, let's say. So, your duty and obligation, for example, if there's a hole in your sidewalk, not snow, right? And, it's newly developed. And as a homeowner, you don't know about it. Well, then you don't have a duty to go out and fix it. But as a business owner, you have a duty to inspect every day to make sure that the people that are coming to do business at your business have a safe pathway and walkway to do that. At LGKG, we've handled many fall-down cases, some of which really, really terrible injuries. We just had one the other day. I tried the case where a woman was in a convenience store, and they have a sink in the convenience store because now these convenience stores, they sell food. So if you want to go and wash your hands at the sink, you can do that. The problem is people wash their hands. The paper towels to dry your hands are behind you. So what happens? You wash your hands, you turn around, water drips everywhere.
Yeah.
And by the time they get to the paper towels, it's a hazard. And we had a woman slip and fall on her way to the cash register in front of this sink. And my argument was, hey, look, you think maybe you ought to put a rug down there? Every house I've ever been in, my mother's, my wife, my grandmother, they had a rug in front of the sink. Why, Scott?
So
Just for
traction.
that reason.
Yeah.
Your water's going to drip off your hands, off your dishes, whatever. And that's what happened here. And we were successful and able to maintain a recovery. But again, it's a business. You got to use common sense. Would a reasonable person either put the paper towels right next to the sink so you can dry your hands without turning around, or put a carpet down? That's common sense. It's just I cross-examined the store manager, and I said, "Do you have a sink at your house?" "Well, of course I do." "Do you have a rug in front of it?" "No." I said, "How about your mom?" "Yeah, she does." "How about your grandmother?" "Yeah, she does too." I said, "Maybe you ought to think about doing that. Those are two smart people." We won our case.
Maybe you can remind people about the state law, too, about completely shoveling off your car. We've all seen that. Someone has a pile of snow on their roof or their window. They're peering out. They can barely see through the defrost.
Scott, that's common sense. You have a duty and an obligation to clean your windows. I told my daughter, who stayed in my house last night, you make sure you get out there and clean all of your windows, because if you don't, and you can't see somebody coming from the side, you're responsible for that. Again, that's just another. At LGKG, we ask ourselves and our clients, what would a reasonable person do? When you get up in the morning, if the car's parked outside, what's the first thing you do, right?
Defrost
Clean
it,
it off.
scrape it, yeah.
Right? Isn't that what? You're a reasonable guy, aren't you, Scott?
But I know you've seen people doing that, driving down the road. They're peering out like they're looking through a periscope or
what would
something.
an average person do? They call it the reasonable man standard. Reasonable. I think you should probably clean it up, let your car run a little bit, make sure that, everything is defogged and de-iced. And if you don't, it's common sense. A lot of what we do at LGKG is common sense, Scott. Common sense. And if you want to get a view of the cases we've handled, just go to our website. It's lgkg.com. It'll tell you about all the cases that we've handled, not all of them, but some of them that may seem very similar to what you have. You'll be able to get a view of all of our lawyers, including my lovely daughters, two of whom work with me. Our background, the awards that we won, the recognition that we've received, both as a law firm and individually. And you can ask questions, type it right in. The question comes to us. You'll get an answer probably in 10 minutes if you don't want to make that phone call. So, lgkg.com. But
what's the address of the Beaver Falls?
1126 6th Avenue.
Okay.
Yeah, 1126 6th Avenue. You can reach us there, 846-4400. Or lgkg.com. Again, it's easy. In the world we live in today, it's very easy to get a hold of us, and we try to make it easy. Again, it's 724-846-4400. We have a toll-free number, 888-842-5454, which just happens to spell LGKG. And you can ask us questions. But if you really want to know whether or not we can help you, I want you to come in so we could talk, so we can sit across the table. Like I said, I'm a guy that likes to sit across the table from people, so you can get a feel for who I am, and I can get a feel for who you are.
Maybe you could remind people through this time of year, holiday parties, people going out, maybe having a drink with friends, maybe New Year's. There's a responsibility there, too, and I'm sure you had cases where...
Don't serve minors, I'll tell you that. As a homeowner, you're only responsible if somebody gets intoxicated, leaves your home, and gets in an accident if they're a minor. You're not responsible for an adult. However, a lot of people, and we had a horrific case in Beaver County not so long ago where a guy was drinking at the bar, and the first thing we asked for is the video footage. There's cameras everywhere. I'm sure there's cameras in this building. We asked for the video footage. And, because the bartender always wants to say, he was fine to me. He only had a couple drinks. Well, with the video footage, we were able to figure out in about an hour and a half that the guy had 11 drinks. 11.
Whoa.
And through our discovery at LGKG, we learned that the young bartender who was in her second day after I don't know how many drinks asked the older woman who's a bartender, is this guy all right? Is he okay? Oh, yeah, he's fine. The guy gets out of his car or gets out of the bar, gets in his truck and goes down the road about, I don't know, maybe 100 yards and hits our client who's on a bicycle. And it was a terrible accident. And, of course, the guy that's driving the truck doesn't have a lot of insurance, but we at LGKG brought a case. It's called dram shop liability, liquor liability against the bar. And what we had to prove is that you served this guy when you knew or should have known he was visibly intoxicated. And one of the tricks I learned through my many years of experience is we deposed the police officer after the accident who pulls him over, Officer Smith. How long have you been an officer? 25 years. Have you seen intoxicated people before? Of course I have. Did you have an opportunity to observe this driver after the accident? Yes. What did you observe? He was slurring his speech. His eyes were bloodshot. His balance was off. I said, in your 25 years of experience, here's the two questions to get him. How long did it take you to determine visibly that this man was visibly intoxicated? Less than 10 seconds. Observing him as you did, if you were the bartender at Joe's Bar and Grill, would you have been serving him drinks? No chance. And there's our case. We've made our case. Because the bartender's not going to say, oh, he was drunk and he was fine. It's the police officer 5 minutes after he leaves the bar who observes him and says, in 10 seconds, I knew he was visibly intoxicated, and no, I would not have been serving him drinks. So we've made our case. We made our case in that case. And the woman who was horrifically injured, we were able to obtain a great recovery for her.
You mentioned the prevalence of cameras. We just had a news story a couple of days ago. A church was robbed locally, and a suspect was caught based on the camera footage. There are cameras everywhere. Now as a law firm, are you able to get to that? Do you often rely on the
First
camera
thing
footage?
we ask for is preserve any video footage of the incident. That's why, you got to get to us, because that video footage normally is only 30 days in duration. It rewinds every 30 days. And, so if you're in one of those situations and you have a question and somebody was drinking, you want to get to LGKG as soon as you can so that we can evaluate, preserve evidence. It's important to preserve evidence. Preserve evidence. There might be skid marks on the roadway. There might be damage to the car where pictures need to be taken before the car is totaled and demolished. Video footage of a slip and fall, or video footage of somebody at a bar who was served 11 drinks in an hour and a half. That's more alcohol than even you can handle, I think, Scott.
That's a lot.
So that's why it's important to get a hold of us. LGKG.com, 724-846-4400, or, you can call us toll-free at our toll-free number, which, again, is 888-842-5454. So easy to find us, easy to get a hold of us, Scott.
We have one more break to get in, and we're back a little bit more. Larry Kelly says, stay right there.
Merry Christmas and Happy New Year from all of us at Forward RX Pharmacy. After the new year, if your medication prices go up, give us a call at 724-246-6257 or check prices on our website at fwdrx.com.
The Vault Recording on Neville Island is the state-of-the-art recording studio with an award-winning team. The Vault's 3 studios include a multi-room full production studio centered around a legendary vintage Neve console. The Vault also offers the region's first and only commercially available Dolby Atmos certified mix room and a post-production studio run by B6 Music and Post focused on ads, TV, film, and voiceover work, plus music production. The Vault works with artists and projects of all types, from singer-songwriters to full bands and large ensembles across all genres. For info, visit thevaultrecording.com.
Step through the gates of Beaver County's sweetest castle, where chocolate is handcrafted and enchantment fills the air. For more than a century, the family at Roseland Candy Castle has been creating confections fit for royalty. Rich, buttery caramels, velvety creams that melt like magic, and our legendary chocolate-covered pretzels, beloved across the land. Whether you seek a treasure for yourself or a gift to share the joy, every bite tells a tale of sweetness and tradition. Visit Roseland Candy Castle in New Brighton or order online at roselandcandy.com. Because at Roseland Candy Castle, every taste is a royal delight and every visit feels like a fairy tale.
8:50 on this Friday morning. Scott Tatey, joined in studio by Larry Kelly of LGKG, the law firm with multiple offices, including Beaver Falls and Newcastle. Give me the whole list.
We have Newcastle, Beaver Falls, Elwood City, Butler, Cranberry, downtown Pittsburgh. So, yeah, we're kind of a regional law firm. But that having been said, most of the people that I've represented in my life have been people that I've known, that my family has known. You know, there's a loyal listener. I just saw that John Urich is listening. Our families have known each other for 100 years, 100 years. Man. And so, therefore, through the years, I've represented John. I've represented his brother, his sister. I mean, that's how we're kind of like a family law firm that we know. Normally, we know pretty well the people that we've represented. For years and years and years. Like I said, the Urich family, the Kelly family, our fathers knew each other. And so there's a 100-year tradition there.
You've told me stories of people you represented years later. We'll see you on the street and they'll come up and talk.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that brings me great joy to see, old friends, old clients, and we reminisce a little bit. But I want to wish everybody a really happy holiday season. Christmas is a special time of year. I always said that spirit that we take into the Christmas season, we should continue it year-round. One of the greatest lines that were ever written in a musical, and I was listening to it with my daughter last night, was Marvin Gaye's song, What's Going On, when he was, it was kind of a protest song. And he said in the lyric that I think is the greatest lyric ever written is this: only love can conquer hate. We ought to try more of that, Scott.
Amen.
Hey, have a great holiday season. Thanks for having me.
You too, Larry.
And I got a day job. I got a court appointment I got to get to today. So nice seeing you again. Thank you.
You as well. Keep up the great work. That was Larry Kelly. If you missed any of this, it's on our Facebook page, WBVP WMBA. Maybe you want to reiterate or catch something Larry said, but otherwise, stay right there. We'll have more talk, music, news, all headed your way.
A settlement in the ongoing antitrust suit. I'm Kyle Rickey. That story next on NASCAR Hot Pass.